This is Ronaldinho, a magician, pioneer, an icon. He did not merely play football. He transformed it into an art form, a dance, a celebration of pure human joy. At a time when tactical systems were becoming rigid and physical power began to dominate the pitch, this smiling wizard from Porto Alegre reminded the entire planet why we fell in love with the beautiful game in the first place. He won the World Cup. He captured the Champions League. He claimed the Ballon d'Or. Yet, his true greatness cannot be measured by silver or gold. It is measured by the sheer awe he struck into the hearts of those who stood beside him and those who stood against him. These are the legends, the rivals, and the masters of the game who watched him do the impossible. Let us see what they truly thought about the man who made the world smile. To understand the footballing anatomy of Ronaldinho, one must understand that he possessed an ability that defied the known laws of physics. His feet moved with a speed that the human eye could barely track, yet his body remained perfectly relaxed, balanced by a constant, infectious smile. He brought street football into the grandest arenas of Europe. He introduced the world to the elastico, the no-look pass, and the overhead volley executed with the casual grace of a man playing on a beach in Rio de Janeiro. His peers did not just respect his ability. They were utterly mystified by it. They watched him in training sessions do things with a leather ball that seemed entirely unnatural. He was a footballing optical illusion. The testimony of Eidur Gudjohnsen is not an exaggeration. It was the consensus of an entire dressing room filled with world-class international stars. Players who had won league titles and international honors found themselves turning into spectators the moment Ronaldinho stepped onto the pitch. His technical repertoire was built on absolute spontaneity. While modern academies train players to be efficient, mechanical, and predictable, Ronaldinho was an agent of beautiful chaos. He never planned a dribble. He never premeditated a trick. He reacted to
Ronaldinho,
reading the shift of a hit or the blink of an eye.
thanks to David Seaman, call off his line, and Brazil take the lead. Ronaldinho has scored.
Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, yet he explicitly states that Ronaldinho's peak was a unique anomaly in the history of the sport. It was a peak characterized by complete individual dominance over the ball. When Ronaldinho was in physical Premier League defenders, Ronaldinho found a solution that no coach could ever teach. He danced. He froze the entire defense with a samba step, and with absolutely no backlift, flicked the ball into the side netting. It was a moment of sheer artistic improvisation. It proved that his skill was not a parlor trick used to humiliate opponents on the halfway line. It was a lethal weapon used to dismantle the most organized, expensive defensive units in club football history. He made the difficult look simple and the impossible look natural. Football is a game of tribal warfare. In the modern era, rivalries are fierce, bitter, and often toxic. It is incredibly rare for an opponent to break character and praise a rival. It is rarer still for an entire stadium of rival supporters to honor an enemy player. Yet, Ronaldinho possessed a charm and a terrifying level of talent that broke down the walls of football hostility. The ultimate test of a player's greatness is not what his teammates say about him in victory, but how his bitterest rivals speak about him in defeat. The fiercest defenders of the golden era, men who made their living by breaking strikers both physically and mentally, found themselves utterly helpless against the Brazilian magician. When Paolo Maldini, arguably the greatest defender to ever live, describes you as a nightmare, your place in football history is permanently secured. Maldini had faced Diego Maradona, Ronaldo Nazario, and Zinedine Zidane. Yet Ronaldinho presented a completely different psychological challenge. How do you stop a player who thrives on your aggression? If you pressed him tightly, he would use your momentum to spin past you. If you dropped off him, he would pick a pass that split your lines apart. And if you tried to foul him, he would simply bounce back up, flash his teeth, and do it all over again. He turned defensive masters into desperate men. Consider the weight of that moment in November 2005. The Santiago Bernabéu is one of the most demanding, hostile environments in sports. They do not easily tolerate excellence from their own players, let alone a man wearing the Blaugrana shirt of Barcelona. Yet, on that night, Ronaldinho's display was so majestic, so undeniably transcendent, that the Real Madrid faithful had no choice but to surrender to his genius. They stood up and applauded. It was an act of pure, unadulterated respect. It was the night football tribalism died, killed by a man who simply wanted to give the world a show. He united a divided sport through the sheer beauty of his play. This brings us to the great debate that has occupied the minds of football pundits, historians, and fans for over 2 decades. How does Ronaldinho's brief, explosive peak compare to the historic, ultra-consistent longevity of Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo? For the statisticians, the debate is easily settled. Messi and Ronaldo scored more goals, won more trophies, and maintained their elite level for nearly 20 years. But football is not played on a spreadsheet. It is felt in the soul. And when you ask the purists of the game, the men who value emotion over numbers, the answer to who was truly efficiency, it is about art versus science. Lionel Messi is a genius of surgical perfection. Every touch is optimal, every pass is logical, and every finish is calculated to maximize the probability of a goal. Ronaldinho, however, was a romantic. He would often choose the more difficult, spectacular option simply because it was beautiful. He would choose to pass with his shoulder, to control the ball with his back, or to chip a keeper from an impossible angle. He did not play to optimize statistics. He played to create moments that would live forever in human memory. This is the core of the argument for Ronaldinho's supremacy. His impact cannot be quantified by data analysts. You cannot run an algorithm to calculate how many millions of children picked up a football because they saw Ronaldinho smile on television. You cannot measure the cultural shift of a massive club like Barcelona, which had been languishing in despair until a single man arrived and injected life, hope, and magic back into its DNA. Lionel Messi inherited a winning machine that Ronaldinho built. Ronaldinho was the catalyst, the foundational architect of modern football entertainment. In the debate of pure talent, his peak remains the gold standard. Beyond the tricks, the trophies, and the legendary performances, who was Ronaldinho as a teammate? In the high-stakes world of elite football, ego can destroy a locker room. Senior players often view rising superstars as threats to their kingdom. But Ronaldinho's character was entirely devoid of malice or jealousy. When a tiny, shy teenager named Lionel Messi walked into the Barcelona first team, Ronaldinho did not push him away. He did not protect his status as the undisputed king of the club. Instead, he opened his arms, adopted the young Argentine as his little brother, and nurtured the greatest talent the world had ever seen. That image of a young Messi on Ronaldinho's back is one of the most symbolic photographs in sports history. It represents the literal passing of the torch from one generational genius to another, executed with absolute grace and generosity. Ronaldinho knew that Messi was destined to surpass him, yet he chose to facilitate that transition rather than hinder it. This spoke volumes about his leadership. He did not lead through fear, shouting, or iron-fisted discipline. He led through love. He created an environment where everyone around him felt safe to express themselves, because they knew their leader was out there playing with total freedom. Carles Puyol's words confirmed that Ronaldinho's happiness was a tactical asset. His smile was not a mask. It was his fuel. When the pressure was immense, when the club faced critical Champions League knockout matches, Ronaldinho would be in the tunnel playing music, dancing, and laughing. This relaxed demeanor removed the crippling anxiety from his teammates' shoulders. They looked at him and thought, if the best player in the world is this calm, why should we be afraid? He carried the expectations of millions with the effortless ease of a man walking through a park. That was his true character, a generous king who wanted his subjects to share in his joy. This was Ronaldinho, pure, unadulterated, magic. He left an indelible mark on the fabric of football history, teaching us that elite sport does not have to be cold, calculated, or corporate. Can be beautiful, can be creative, can be a source of endless, radiating happiness. He taught a generation how to dream, and he forced his greatest enemies to stand up and applaud his mastery. His peak may have been short, but it burned with a brightness that will illuminate the football world forever. He will never be replaced, because he was a singular gift to the universe of sports. Tell me in the comments which legend we should cover next. Subscribe. Every legend has a story.